Hello, can you see me? Yep. Okay, let me just... Actually, do you know what? I'm not going to shut the door, but... Well, I'm in very warm clothes because it's very, very, very cold. I live in London, so if you are not in London, you Google London, it's just coming down with snow, like, you know, never before. I'll quickly show you. Right, hold on. Excuse my ugly face. Don't know if you can see it, look. There's kids playing snowballs. This is just my view outside. This is what I'm looking at sometimes. So, yeah, I don't know if you could see any of that properly. Let's hope that that goes down properly. Alright. Is that steady? Yep. Alright. So, Belfort Bisping was early in the morning. So I got to see that. And just some quick thoughts on that. And really the big topic out of that is really... Bisping loses to Vitor Belfort. Let me get my cup of tea. Bisping loses to Vitor Belfort in the second round, and that kind of spoils some plans. So Vitor Belfort was the spoiler of sorts. It was very well known that if Bisping won this fight, he would be the #1 contender and face Anderson Silva, I think maybe in the spring or summer. And that was a big fight for the UFC, a big fight for Michael Bisping, and a money fight in general for them because Bisping is so good at selling fights. So they were going to do Bisping versus Vitor Belfort, no, Bisping versus Anderson Silva had he won, but then unfortunately what happened was Belfort hits him with a head kick in the second round and then just unleashes a flurry on him, and Bisping couldn't recover from it. So that kind of spoils some plans for them, as I've said for the second time. Now, what this now leaves us with is, when is Anderson Silva going to fight next? Who is he going to fight next? What weight class is he going to fight in? And those are the three questions that kind of all wrapped into one. Because had Bisping won, we would know Bisping Silva would be the next fight. Obviously, he's not going to fight Vitor Belfort. It's been said that that fight's not going to happen. It's harder to sell to the audience. I think the only way you can sell that is if Vitor went on a complete and utter tear and destroyed everybody to such an extent that you had to do the rematch, or if there was some story where Vitor was severely injured, but neither, well, one is more likely than the other, and it's not the case of, oh, he was injured and had a bad weight cut. Who else would there be? Because Vitor, it won't be Vitor, and Vitor wants to fight John Jones again, which is cool. Who else could there be? Chris Weidman's hurt at the moment, and I know he should be back around the late spring, early summer, so he would be out of the picture. I do like him. I think he's got a great future in the sport, by the way. I think he's a very nice guy if you've ever seen him in an interview, but I know that Silva's camp will kind of, you know, up and down about doing it, you know, because they like him as a fighter and they think he's a great fighter, but they think that he needs more of a name, and they want, because Anderson Silva's a main event guy, and they want, you know, they want a big fight. They want like a Chael Sonnen level of a fight. Chael Sonnen would obviously be out of the picture anyways right now. Who else would there be? Hector Lombardi's another one. He's coming off a win. They might as well just do that. I could see them doing that, you know, just, here we go. Bolich and Belcher are both out of the picture at the moment, which is interesting. Who else could there be? Who else could there be? Luke Rockhold would be another name. He is the Strikeforce middleweight champion. I don't know if that is as big a fight as people would believe, because I don't know how big of a name Luke Rockhold is to everybody else, but you can sell him to other people. And I did hear Anderson Silva say that he wanted to fight him. He actually, I'm sure it was on his Twitter, and then Luke Rockhold responded, or something to that extent, and this was last year. I think that Rockhold will eventually fight Anderson anyways, but I would like to see him go to the UFC, maybe fight a Vitor Belfort or somebody else, and then if he won, do that. But then again, the problem is, we've just said, if someone wins against Vitor Belfort, and look what just happened, Belfort just wiped out one of your #1 contenders. I bet you they do Bisping versus Rich Franklin next, actually, because they're both coming off losses. It's a good in-between money fight that they could do, and they could do it on a Fox show or something, maybe, and I think that would be a good thing to do. Who else would there be for Anderson to fight? George St. Pierre? He's fighting Nick Diaz. He's fighting Nick Diaz soon, and that's another video I need to do at some point in the week and talk about. George, he doesn't seem too interested in the fight, I know he wants to talk about it, and he said that if he fights Anderson, he's got to kind of stay at a certain weight, and that means he can't go back down. And I think he's saying that on the basis of guys like Roy Jones Jr. who've gone up in weight and then gone back down, and it's affected their career ever since. And I think that's the perspective George is coming from. Who else could there be? John Jones, perhaps. I think there's a chance that that fight could happen now, and if they do it, I'd love to see it. Why not? Who else? Well, Tim Kennedy, I don't see them doing. Robbie Lawler, I don't know what weight class he's fighting at, and to be honest, he's not got enough going for him right now. Jacare would be a great fight to watch. I think he's definitely someone to keep an eye on. I compare him to the Fabricio Verdum of middleweights, if you know what I mean. He's going to be the guy that, you know what, he's going to creep up on people, and then before you know it, he's going to have a real impact in the UFC middleweight division. And I think he's a great athlete, great grappler, solid striking for someone that's a pure grappler, and perhaps that could be a fight eventually that we'll see. So kind of leaves the UFC in a weird position. I did see the Bellator show, I watched that. Quick thoughts on that. I thought Michael Chandler looked great again. He's definitely someone that the Bellator need to build and promote hard, especially with all these things going on with Eddie Alvarez, because it looks like if the court case goes his way, he's going to the UFC, and then they can always build up, you know, this is the guy that beat Eddie Alvarez and took his belt, and he's actually a pretty exciting fighter, and he demolished his last opponent. I think they set the tournament up so that we would get Babalu, Sobro and King Mo, and what we've learned throughout the years is that when you try and book things in that kind of way, it never works. UFC tried to do that once with Liddell and Ortiz by putting Couture in there as the middleman, and Couture spoiled the plans twice. They tried doing that with Vitor Belfort in the early days of the UFC and having be the face of the company, and Randy beat him. We've seen this so many times, so I wasn't surprised when that happened. Bellator, I mean, I'm interested. I hope they do well. I think they're going to have some people to look at in the future. Now with the Strikeforce death, and it's clear that not everyone's getting picked up in this deal, so there'll be some names, and that would be interesting. I don't know, you know, I don't know who they would go for really, but I can see them picking up the whatever's left around. I think they should make a picture of Josh Barnett personally. You've got Spike TV, Bellator and TNA Wrestling. They could get him under a similar deal to the one they got King Mo under, and I think that would be a wise move. Speaking of TNA, briefly, I did see the Aces and Eights interruption of the wedding. I did think it was probably the most salvageable thing they've done with them. The Aces and Eights storyline has really dragged. I don't know if Taz in the long run is really going to help that stable, because let's face it, there's no payoff. He can't wrestle, he's had surgery, he's retired from in-ring competition, so we're not going to see him wrestle. So really he's just going to work as a mouthpiece. So how is he going to get his comeuppance? I don't know. Touching on something in the WWE briefly, the Shield. I do like the Shield, I'm a big fan of all three. I definitely watched the last few weeks of what they've been doing, and people are saying, well, they need to do more, they need to capitalise on the momentum they have had, and they are, but I think the company does not want to overexpose them, and they've made that mistake a lot with people when they've caught on, most notably AJ Lee, who I've said is a go away heat for me. When she's on, I just go out my room or go out the living room or wherever I'm at where she's on and do something else. I don't think they want to overexpose them, that's the key, but they do need to develop the story with them, because they don't want it to be like the Aces and Eights where it drags to the point where people just get fed up. I think that they're going to do something big in the Royal Rumble. I expect that they interfere in the Rock CM Punk match, and if they don't interfere in that, I expect them to be involved in the Royal Rumble itself in some kind of big angle, setting up a WrestleMania match. I really hope that that's the case and they don't get left off and they're just viewed as unimportant. But anyways, I'm going to stop because I'm drying out. As you can see, it's snowing, it's lovely out there. I've got some Southern Comfort on my shelf below the camera. Maybe I'll have that to warm me up, put in my tea. You write some comments, you let me know what you think. I'm sorry it's all muddled up and kind of all compressed together, but kind of in a hurry. I've got some cases to read, so I'm going to stop. upload the video. Let me know what you thought about the UFC show. Let me know what you thought about the Bellator show. Let me know what you thought about the TNA comments I just made. Let me know what you think about the Shield and everything going on there. And yeah, any questions you want to ask me, feel free. I want to do a Q&A video soon, so send them to my inbox, and hopefully I will get back to you all soon. Bye bye.